Well, it's been cold. Sweatshirt? Brr. Yeah, it's been cold around here. Temperatures way down 50 degrees. The other day, we did not rise above 61 degrees all day long. It was drizzly, cloudy, thick, cold, windy. Yeah, it's been, I guess, pretty close to about as miserable as the best weather on the planet gets, as Guy Hoggy on Channel 4 says in the morning. Yeah, so we've been shivering. This isn't the first time, but it definitely crossed my mind that maybe I should have designed the house with a wood stove in it. I do think that may be coming up in the future. Well, a while back, if you've been following the videos, you know that I've been railing on AI over here. A few people found this a little strange. It's a garden channel talking about AI, but AI runs the garden channel. Believe me, yeah, YouTube is a product of AI. And so I am directly affected by it. Google's AI helped make my landscape and horticultural consulting business in California very successful because of the way it rated me in Google. And it's, done pretty well for me here in Hawaii. But in late days, ever since I retired, talking about work and trying to encourage more business is no longer very important to me. So as you all know, I will probably just stop and start talking story about whatever's in my head now and then. And AI has definitely been part of it. As you can see here is Gracie, and she is real. She is not an artificially generated cat. This here's a real cat, huh? It ain't no AI cat, right, Gracie? Yep. This cat's intelligence is real. I don't know if anybody else has noticed this. I don't expect most of the ladies out there to have spotted this one, but guys, if you watch YouTube frequently, and I do, yes, I'm on it most of the time, but instead of watching, commercial television or anything like that, I really don't much, other than maybe watching the morning news here locally. But as far as my video viewing is concerned, it's mostly YouTube. And what I like to do is not only watch something that might be educational, there's a lot of different stuff out there on YouTube, all sorts of things. But one of the things I'll do every day is I believe it's important that we get a good laugh. Yeah, if you don't get a good laugh at least once a day, you might go sour, okay? So I make a point of putting on silly things that make me giggle. I have found that it's not important that it be a deep cosmic sense of humor, No, just stupid pet tricks and stuff, man. It's all good, Somebody farted in an elevator. That's funny, Anyway, so yeah, I do that. I'll admit, I watch dumb videos about random stuff, fails, pets and things like that. There's a guy in Japan with his otters. I like to watch him sometimes, But, just recently, I noticed that the thumbnails on YouTube, that the thumbnails on a lot of these random videos suddenly showed up with buxom women scantily clad with their boobs almost exploding from their brassieres, looking like they're about to have a wardrobe malfunction in the next 2.5 seconds, Now this didn't exist previously. And so when I saw this, I said, oh my goodness, look at that. Whoa, big boobs. And so I clicked on the video. Well, it turned out there were no women with large mammillaries in that video. The thumbnail was a fake to draw me in. They knew I'd want to see those boobs. And, oh, well, it turns out that this is becoming a regular thing. See, once I clicked on one of them, somebody out there, I just figured out, probably by using AI to manipulate images, because I'm looking at these and I don't think these were actually real images. That's what I think. Yeah, they're a little bit over the top. And they definitely aren't in the videos. And so somebody's making these things and putting them up front to try to attract male viewers who will go, man, look at that massive mammillary. I want to see more of that. Yeah, and it's become a regular thing. Most of the fail videos and stuff like that, where people goof up skateboarding, they're advertising them all with big boobs. This is artificially generated, man. It ain't even real. Yeah, Yeah, it's, well, back in high school, you figured out that your girlfriend was wearing falsies. Well, now the falsies are digital and the computer's generating them. Well, if you think back a little there, if you've been watching the channel, you may recall the time that I went up in arms because I realized Google's AI was following me around, eavesdropping on me, and then suggesting things that I'd been talking about in private in the house. Yeah, well, I went on a campaign of turning off everything that could possibly listen inside the house. But there's one thing I can't touch, and Ellen is a smartphone user. I am not. I refuse to touch the things. They're trouble. But that's another long story as far as I'm concerned. But I can't turn her phone off, and so her phone remains on. I got all the computer mics shut down and everything else around here that was eavesdropping on me. Well, it happened again last night. Yeah, last night. Ordinarily during dinner conversation, Ellen and I will get into all sorts of different things, talking about stuff, and she usually has her smartphone sitting there. And, well, we started talking about the connection between black magic and rock and roll music last night. Having been a rock and roller most of my life, now I've never been into heavy metal music, okay? That's not my bag, but I'm well aware that bands like Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, and stuff like this, these guys, it's a shtick that they're connected to witchcraft, black magic, demonic possession, Satan, this kind of stuff. You're familiar with it, right? Yeah, I always figured it was an advertising shtick. Some people are susceptible to that stuff. They go, ooh, dark, cool music, and they follow it around, whatever. I just figured it was the way these guys made money. I really did not believe that they were truly connected there. Well, it wasn't many years ago now. Just very recently, I realized that Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin was so deep into Aleister Crowley, who was known as one of the most wicked men of the 20th century, who was totally into black magic, Satanism, witchcraft, and so on, that Page was so into Crowley that Page bought Crowley's house. He bought all of Crowley's suits that he wore, his hats, his wands, and everything. Page is totally deep into black magic. Yeah, this was something that I really almost didn't believe it when I ran across it. I said, wow, you mean this connection is real? Yeah, they actually performed rituals on 3 of the band members to ensure success and so on, using black magic. Well, I wandered on a little bit from there, and I started wondering, since I never believed in this. See, I didn't think it was real. I just thought it was advertising junk. When I found out it was actually real, I was kind of shocked. Well, there's always the Grateful Dead, Well, I mean, anytime you got a long-standing rock and roll band that seems to go on forever and ever and ever and is incredibly popular, you do have to ask yourself, did Keith Richards sell his soul to the devil at the crossroads? in the Stones, because they're still going, man. Black and Charlie Watts or not, and they keep going. It's a little unnatural. Well, I started talking about the Grateful Dead, and of course, here right off, we got the symbol, the skeleton, the dead, Death himself. And Death is always, God got roses, and he's smiley and leaning, just sort of waiting around, and he's an interesting image of Death, I'll tell you that. Very odd image in the Grateful Dead, compared to most other people. And Americans are scared to death of death. Yeah, we hate death. It's frightening. It's going to take us away from everything, Well, I started wondering with Ellen last night, is it possible that these guys had a connection that I didn't know anything about? That is very possible. That's a weird thing, this whole Gratefully Dead thing. Well, before the band became the Grateful Dead, they were known as the Warlocks. Now, Jerry Garcia didn't belong to the band at that time. Bobby Weir was there, all right? And they used to play at Menlo Park at a pizza parlor over there and stuff like that. Well, to begin with, Warlocks. Definite connection, again, to magic. But the guy who was the guitarist of the Warlocks, Troy Weidenheimer, well, Troy was a friend of mine, and so indirect connection to the Grateful Dead. I used to jam with the guitarist that was the guitarist for the Warlocks before Jerry kind of joined the band, Well, there is some pretty creepy stories that have been shared over the years over that, but well, I just kind of mused as a long conversation with Ellen about, you think there could be a connection there? That there's some, they had plenty of witches in San Francisco during the Summer of Love, man. And, I've had my own encounters with witches, and so these things are real. Well, anyway, that was the conversation. It didn't go anywhere. Well, then later on, phone rings. Oh, it's Chad. The guy used to work for me in California, in the business, the landscape business. And, well, he's got a property over here, and he apparently is coming over. That's what the phone was about. But he's trying to get me to meet up with some tiny home that he wants to buy at the shipping port that he's getting off of Amazon. I guess I was aware they do have tiny homes on Amazon. Anyhow, he started talking to me about it, and so this went on and on because the things are made from cargo containers, and I said, no metal here. Metal is awful, and unless it's stainless steel, marine bronze, hot dipped zinc galvanized, or constantly painted, metal is nothing but trouble. It just corrodes. The salt does it, the lava gases do it. So metal is a bad thing. Plus, the atmospheric humidity here is so high, typically over 80%. Yeah, if you got one temperature on one side of a wall and one temperature on the other side, you end up with water on one side of that wall. It condenses here terribly. And so cargo containers are, as far as I'm concerned. But he's going on about this. And, of course, the whole thing was that, poor Chad, I guess I had kind of helped encourage him when he was working with me into getting into investing. And, some of the ideas were maybe pretty good. He made pretty good money. But later on, it appears that, probably over $200,000 or so of the money that he planned to use to build the house over here, he put it in Bitcoin. Now, had he asked me, which they don't, I'd have told him, what are you, crazy? That's a pyramid scheme. And even if it was real currency, like a euro or a Canadian dollar or something, or a peso, where you have an actual currency that's really backed by countries, and we all universally, say, yeah, peso has this value against the dollar, or yen does, those are real currencies, and people do make money trading them. It's still, I guess a lot of Japanese housewives sitting around, who's got nothing to do sometimes but sit there and watch the difference between a dollar and a yen, a Canadian dollar and the euro and whatever. And you can, buy and sell against the rise and fall of these currencies, and you can make money by the difference. Like right now, I think, I think it was Australian dollar. It takes $1.53 at the moment to make an American dollar. Wow. Well, somebody was trading currency there. There was a way to make an awful lot of money. But I'm also thinking maybe it's time I should go down to Australia on vacation. If I just don't like drinking Foster's. The stuff tastes like dish detergent. Sorry, Aussies. I don't like your beer. You got some better stuff, I'm sure. Yeah. So I'm having this conversation. And Helen's got her smartphone nearby again. And I'm talking on the phone, and we're talking about tiny homes. We're talking about the island. We're talking about Amazon and the delivery and, and all this stuff. And I generally just finally gave up and said, well, Chad, do what you want to do with it. Maybe when you get your feet back on the ground after your Bitcoin loss, maybe you can make some more money and actually build a real house, And I said, sure, whatever. I told him, well, if you're going to live in one of them things, as long as you got a shower and a place to take a dump in the morning, I said, that's luxury. So, yeah, go for it. Well, later on in the evening, I relaxed and retired and turned on YouTube. First video on YouTube to pop up. Some organization of witches offering me moon spells to be able to ensure. I didn't read it, I didn't watch it, I didn't look at it, but all I know is I just had a long conversation with Ellen over dinner about spells, witchcraft, and rock and roll bands, and all of a sudden I have witches on YouTube looking to run me through spells to ensure that my moon energy will be. Well, now I could have passed it off as being coincidence, just because some time back I do watch political news videos, a lot of them, and along with that, some tarot card reader showed up on YouTube with reading tarot for Donald Trump. I said, oh, what the heck, this is fun. I'm not necessarily a believer in tarot, but I went ahead and I watched it. Now, it's possible, because I did that it led to witches offering me spells, possible. So, it's not conclusive, but this morning I got up, I opened up Yahoo, or I was going to go and take a look and see what kind of email I had there, and the phrase face page has, news stuff on it. Well, what is staring at me? Tiny homes at Amazon for sale. Nah. I do not believe that both witches and spells and tiny homes at Amazon came up totally because of coincidence after yesterday's conversations. And, it's that smartphone. That's what's listening, and there ain't much I can do about it because, people who get into those things become so thoroughly addicted and enmeshed into them, you can't pull them away. It's like heroin. That was one of the main reasons I wouldn't have anything to do with it when it first started to come around, because I could see the future. And it wasn't good. Well, anyway, I don't know what to do about this. I can't even talk about anything in my own house anymore with the way things are going in this world. And it is rather upsetting. I hate to be the one to say, there ought to be a law. They shouldn't be allowed to do this sort of thing. It should not be allowed, but because of the Siris and the Alexas and all that stuff, we have now told our machines that it's okay to sit around and listen to us. It's even okay to drive our cars. Okay, well, enough of that one. Well, it was a couple of weeks ago that, while sleeping, I fell into a dream about an old buddy of mine, Rick, and about the time that I wrecked a motorcycle and Rick stepped in and helped, took my mom to the hospital, hung with us and everything, It was just a great friend. And the dream had to do, it was very real, it was just a very real repeat video of what had actually happened at that time, many years ago. Well, I get up next morning and I realize, I know, I don't have dreams like that unless something's up. So I had a couple things to do in the morning, and as soon as I got myself organized, I went to the telephone and I dialed Rick. Sure enough, I caught him at the curb in front of a hospital in North Carolina being discharged after being in intensive care for some extreme case of diverticulitis. All right, so I knew that my good friend was in trouble. He was in danger and that he was in the hospital. I knew that. I know a lot of things like that. It's the nature of being me. And lately, death has been hanging around the door so much. It's a thing I sense. Death is a presence. It exists. Whether you believe that or not, don't matter to me very much, but it's a real thing. You want to call it the angel of death? I don't know. There's a function here. There is an energy that opens the door and swings it one way and the other. It has charge over opening the door to let in the birth. It has charge into chasing the souls back out the door to get them the heck out of here. It's it ain't got a lot of emotion. That's part of its business, is to wipe out all ego and emotion. That's one of the things death will take from you. When it asks you to leave, makes you leave. You won't be taking your ego, all your desires and your wants and passions and things with you. Now, there's things I believe we take with us as we pass on, but that isn't one of them. So I have this experience, and lately, there's been so much death. There's been people that I am not directly connected to, but people that are, connected in friends and family, or people that I do business with, etc., have, for one, had a bunch of fentanyl overdoses. Some of these guys were using drugs, and I mean, these days you didn't have to be a heroin addict or anything like that. Who knows what they put the stuff on? That's the case. I mean, you might be taking a magic mushroom and find out somebody dusted the damn thing with a lethal dose of fentanyl. I don't know what these two guys were into at all. They're not my friends, but I do know people who know them, and I had sensed that there was death lingering, so much of it, and then some, and then more, and then a friend of mine's girlfriend had a miscarriage, and the fetus died, and it's been death piled on top of death. The other night, I have no idea what death really looks like, but we know what we think he looks like. Yeah, he's the guy on the Grateful Dead album covers, right? Bony figure, got a sigh, leans on it, the whole works. Well, archetypically, this is the way I visualize death myself. Anytime I've encountered death, that's what he looks like. It's a cultural thing, that we learned to see him that way since the Dark Ages and the Black Death, I guess. That image came about. He wears it well, and whatever it is, it exists here. It's a gatekeeper. And if it shows up hanging around me, and I know someone's going to die, something's going to die, I've long ago stopped being afraid of it, which is part of the reason most of us are not aware of death, because we're scared of it. I'm not at all. In fact, we're buddies in a way. It's hard to be friends with something like death. It has no emotion. But I showed up the other night, 1 o'clock in the morning. I wake up and I got death sitting by my bedside, and well, he let me know death doesn't talk. I mean, he's got no tongue, right? But he let me know real clear. It wasn't there for me. And it's just, there's work out there. He says, my job is taking care of the death. Yeah, they got to be dead before I'm interested. Well, this one ain't dead yet. Have a look at it, will you? Yeah, I get referrals for the living from death on occasion. It's really true. Well, I said, all right, here you are. I can't sleep with you hanging around. Well, come on, let's go sit out on the porch. You want a shot of rum? Sure. Hey, want to have a smoke? Yeah. Right, kitty? Yeah, there's Gracie coming up. Yeah. So we hung out there on the lanai, and of course, Death, he ain't got any lips. He's got no tongue. He didn't even have any lungs, And so, when he pours a shot of rum in, it just runs out the bottom of his jaw, and he laughs. He doesn't actually laugh either, but, that leering skull always looks like it's kind of grinning, and he'd take a smoke, and no lungs, no lips, no tongue. It just curls out of his empty eye sockets, but it's pretty amusing. So we hung for a while, and I was at least comfortable with the idea that this wasn't for me, but something was going on again. There's been so much death. Well, so next morning when I got up, I tried calling Rick. Was first thought. Maybe Rick took a turn for the worse. Well, his phone wasn't working. That really scared me. I tried a couple of times. Couldn't make it work. Well, then there was one other thought. The guys I do business with in Ohio, over the Delta 8 THC that I used to lower blood pressure. He apparently has some sort of an intense back issue that totally debilitates him, and the guy was sitting around wishing he wasn't alive anymore. Yeah. And he was actually seriously looking into euthanasia programs. I found this out when I inquired that I said, I've had kind of a sensation something's going on out here. How you do? It turns out it was him. Yeah, he was thinking about he wanted to off himself, but he wasn't going to do it. He was going to do it legally, and he's trying to find a euthanasia program somewhere that could handle his position. Well, I informed him he is out of luck. Because I inquired and checked on it before I even got back to him. He was talking about Canadian euthanasia, but he's in Appalachia, as Ohio resident. No. To make use of that, you have to, be a Canadian citizen, living in a province with an address, belonging to the medical system, which is government in Canada, and so on and so forth. So it's a little bit like trying to dodge the draft and getting into Canada. You ain't going to do it. So, and we have 8 states in the U.S., including Hawaii, where compassionate end-of-life stuff is legal. But in order for it to occur, it takes 2 physicians to both agree that you are terminally ill and there's no hope for you. And then the government in 8 states will allow them to administer something, under doctor's care that will put you out, dispatch you, so you end your suffering. Well, I informed him back problems, no matter how bad, they're not included in this. He described the name of the medical condition. I've never heard of it. I don't know what it is. So I can't judge as to how bad his back problem is. I know it comes and goes, because when I got back to him later about this, and I said, hey, I had a long talk with Death here the other night over a shot of rum, and he suggests really that it's up to him to pick the time and place. And if you pick the time and place, there's got to be a price. There'll be a price you will pay that you really will not want to have to pay. This is if Bill has a belief system, yeah, that's close to it. I wouldn't say that I actually believe that, but I haven't got anything else to believe in. In other words, it makes sense to me. Yeah, hypothetically, the idea that if you're the one to enact the act of death, that somehow it flies in the face of the natural order, because for those of you who don't believe death is an entity and has a job here, then this probably doesn't matter to you, But I happen to know that death is an entity and it has a job here. And it doesn't like it when you take away his work. Yeah. Anyway. So, I don't know. This morning, it feels like things have lifted a little bit. Maybe this is over. I'm getting tired of all the death, but maybe it's just beginning. There's death everywhere in there. It's Gaza's full of it. Ukraine's full of it. It's all over the place. Africa's full of it. Texas. Oh, well. Anyway, y'all, you have a good day. Hang loose. Aloha.